Let's see what Wave 3 has in store for us.
Return for the climactic clash between the forces of good and evil. Return to a galaxy far, far away. Return of the Jedi. The next chapter in the continuing Star Wars saga. The battle for freedom rages on. The heart of a hero. The courage of a rebel. The strength of a leader. The loyalty of comrades. The power of the Force. The cunning of the enemy. A destiny revealed.
Is Darth Vader my father?
A legend fulfilled. An epic of heroes, villains, and aliens from 1,000 worlds. Major crap! The quest continues. The circle closes. The saga lives on. Return of the Jedi begins May 25th at a theater in your galaxy.
That's right, Return of the Jedi, my favorite film. With Hasbro's only tooling for the character dating back to 1997, Return of the Jedi's Gamorrean Guard is a character that both Hasbro and collectors were eager to see an update. Daryl DePriest explains designer Brian Parrish's excitement for the figure. We had decided at the beginning that this one would feature a soft goods loincloth, and Brian couldn't wait to get started. Parrish designed the all-new Gamorrean Guard with a highly detailed, super-articulated sculpt, accurate deco and weathering, and a big pile of accessories, including a separately sculpted bandolier, removable helmet, and 3 weapons, one based on the axe included with the classic Kenner figure from 1983. The Gamorrean Guard, horn to toe, is probably as accurate as we can get, stated David Venmeyer at a Star Wars Celebration panel in 2010. We set up a time period when myself, Brian Parrish, and Vicky Stratford could fly out to the archives. We were able to document and take pictures of everything. And as you can see, this is one of the original 96 that we're looking for to completing the 96 in the current TVC. And we are off to a good start getting into Wave 3. Eric Arana was determined to design Admiral Akbar. The Mon Calamari and Quarren are some of my favorite aliens in all of Star Wars. I love their designs. Arana accessorized the figure with a command console design from Akbar's battleship Home 1 and a command baton that pays homage to the figure's classic Kenner roots. Packaging designer Dave Reeves used the same figure image from the classic Kenner card for the vintage collection, but he adjusted the color tones and saturation to more accurately represent Akbar's costume. There are a few elements to the vintage collection cards that differ from the Kenner releases, says Reeves. I had to reformat some of the original background images to get everything to fit. I had to move the photo to the right to minimize the impact of the character's nameplate. Additionally, I was able to bring out many textural details we never saw before. And once again, here is another original 96 covered in TVC 1.0.
Proceed with the countdown. All groups assume attack coordinates.
Hasbro released many Luke as Jedi figures over the years, but the team working on the vintage collection believed they could do better. Daryl DePriest explains, "In our opinion, none of the previous Jedi Luke figures paid adequate tribute to the character. We reserved a spot in the wave for this reason. It was long overdue and the figure came out great. There was two major problems. First, Hasbro initially released the figure without the ability to hang Luke's hilt on the belt. There was neither a port in Luke's belt nor a post on the hilt to attach to the figure. Hasbro executed a run-and change to correct this. Second, the photos selected for the card depicted the wrong scene from Return of the Jedi, Dave Reeves explains. The figure was in a Return of the Jedi wave, but a different scene than I picked, and this made it all the way through all approval checks and into production before we noticed. This was meant to be from a never-before-done scene, so it was important that we made the run-and change." And as you can see, we actually ended up having 3 different card backs. Well, actually 2 card backs and then 3 different names. You had Indoor, you had Jedi Knight Outfit, and you had Indoor Capture. And they actually, as you can see, they went through a number of changes to try to catch that up. And this unfortunately does not cover one of the 96 because he does not have his cape, but that does come in TVC 2.0.
And his friends. You can either profit by this or be destroyed. It's your choice, but I warn you not to underestimate my power.
Master Luke, you're standing on...
Jedi.
And I request permission to conduct a further search of the area. He was armed only with this.
Good work, Commander. Leave us. Conduct your search and bring his companions to me.
Yes, my lord.
The Emperor has been expecting you.
I know, Father.
So, you have accepted the truth.
I've accepted the truth that you were once Anakin Skywalker, my father.
That name no longer has any meaning for me.
It is the name of your true self you've only forgotten. I know there is good in you. The Emperor hasn't driven it from you fully. That was why you couldn't destroy me. That's why you won't bring me to your Emperor now.
Around the time of Return of the Jedi's 30th anniversary, Hasbro noticed increased interest in characters from Jabba's palace and the battle over the Great Pit of Carkoon. Daryl DePriest recalls a particular discussion that inspired the selection of Wolf for the 3rd wave of the vintage collection. Themed around the Return of the Jedi, Brian Parrish and I used to have discussions on Star Wars and the importance of action figures in inspiring imaginative play. Klaatu was Brian's favorite action figure as a kid. He was fascinated by the soft goods skirt on the figure. He carried over the fascination to many of the vintage collections figures he worked on. Lucasfilm used both Klaatu and Woof as production names for creatures when filming Return of the Jedi. Kenner named the 1983 figure Klaatu, but Decipher renamed the character Wolf for their Star Wars customizable card game in 1998, which Lucasfilm officially recognizes as the name of the character. Sculpt manager David Venmeyer enlisted independent designer Jay Kushwara to digitally sculpt R2-D2. When Venmeyer visited the Lucasfilm archives, the Hasbro team carefully inspected the R2-D2 prop. We went through every detail, even all the recessed radiuses on the panels, he recalled at a Star Wars Celebration panel in 2010. No detail was missed. Designer Brian Parrish didn't draft the character specification based on the classic Kenner R2-D2 with pop-up lightsaber figure, instead focusing on a version compatible with the entirety of the Battle of the Great Pit of Carkoon sequence. R2-D2 comes with a full bar ready to serve drinks and a hidden compartment to store Luke's hilt for deployment. For Hasbro, troop builders are an important part of the 3.75-inch collecting experience. Including 2 to 3 troops in each wave was a goal for the vintage collection. Because troops from the Galactic Empire were well represented in previous lines, Hasbro sought to bolster the Rebellion's ground forces with Return of the Jedi's Rebel Commando. Although the Rebel Commando is a modern update to the classic Kenner figure, it is not an equivalent. Kenner based their Rebel Commando figure on the infantryman characters as evidenced by the overalls and soft backpack. In contrast, Hasbro's Rebel Commando is based on the Sergeant's version of the soldier wearing a camouflage duster coat and hard backpack. When filming Return of the Jedi, Lucasfilm used character lists and continuity Polaroids to keep track of the creatures and costumes used in filming. These records were sufficient for production, but books, games, and toys developed these obscure background characters like Rebel Commandos by assigning them ranks and giving them bios. And as you can see, this actually covers one of our original 96, and there will actually be another one to cover on the Rebel Commando in future episodes.
Look at you, a general, huh?
Someone must have told him about my little maneuver at the Battle of Tanev.
Well, don't look at me, pal. I just said you were a fair pilot. I didn't know they were looking for somebody to lead this crazy attack.
I'm surprised they didn't ask you to do it.
Well, who says they didn't, but I ain't crazy. You're the respectable one, remember?
Since launching the modern Star Wars line in 1995, Hasbro paired the saga's smaller characters in 2 packs to increase perceived value. For the vintage collection, there was concern that smaller characters, like Wicket, might not justify the $9.99 price. Aware of this, designer Brian Parrish's initial concept was to pair Wicket and Princess Kanisha from the Ewoks animated series in a 2-pack. Production costs prohibited the pairing and Kanisha was dropped. With perceived value in mind, Hasbro released Wicket with gear from Return of the Jedi, as well as the green cowl and tan satchel based on the character's appearance in the second season of Ewoks. According to Daryl DePriest, Wicket's animated accessories went over well with collectors, and Hasbro continued offering Ewoks as single-carded figures in TVC, faithful to their classic Kenner counterparts. Hasbro eventually released Kanisha as part of the 2012 Toys R Us exclusive Ewok pack. And as you can see, this is a 96 figure.
Something to eat? That's right. Come on.
Wedge Antilles is one of the few Rebel pilots to survive the original trilogy's 3 major battles. Despite his prominence in Star Wars, Hasbro never released Wedge as part of their main line figure assortment. The figures were either pack-ins or exclusives. Finally, in 2010, Hasbro slotted a mainline Wedge into the vintage collection. The plan was to reissue the Wedge figure included in the 2009 Legacy Collection Wedge Antilles X-Wing Starfighter set. But the figure was too tall, so Hasbro pulled it from the November 2010 assortment. Hasbro design team reworked Wedge using the shorter body of the vintage The Saga Collection Luke Skywalker X-Wing pilot figure. but the 2009 Wedge figure's head didn't fit well on the body's neck post. To remedy this, they tooled a new portrait, further delaying the figure's release.
Here goes nothing. Now lock onto the strongest power source. It should be the power generator.
Form up. Stay alert. We could run out of space real fast.
From the moment Daryl DePriest joined Hasbro's Star Wars team, he hoped for a rocket-firing Boba Fett, inspired by the feature Kenner promised but canceled in 1979. However, pitching it for the Vintage Collection didn't go unchallenged, and it became a topic of debate among the team. Because the line's directive was premium, highly articulated action figures, the group felt a retro-painted sculpt with only 5 points of articulation should be offered as a mail-away exclusive outside of the line's VC numbering system. We needed to take a cast of a classic Kenner Boba Fett, explains designer Andrew Franks. I sacrificed my original figure to take a casting, and in doing so our sculptor Dave Venmeyer broke the arms. It was a goner. From the casting of Frank's figure, Venmeyer cleaned up the details, creating a sculpt which at a glance looks identical to the original Kenner figure but is more refined. Hasbro developed a VCP Vintage Collection promotional numbering system for promotional and exclusive figures. The intent was to assign figures like Boba Fett, which is numbered VCP03, these numbers since they fell outside the main retail line.
Chewie, your head? Where is it?
So after Wave 3, we have 14 figures that have been released from the original 96, leaving us with 82 more figures to go. As you can see, TVC 1.0 was really on it, and with 3 waves in, that is big commitment to trying to complete the original 96. If you like this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for alerts for when more videos come out, and I will see you soon. Thank you.
You have failed me for the last time.